Alright guys, I'd like to welcome you to the first lecture here inside of the Adobe 72 Photoshop tools. And we're going to focus on this first tool right up here known as the Move tool. It's the one that looks like an arrow, and then it's kind of got this cross with some arrows on it. And go ahead and select that for me and we'll get started. So as you can see here, I'm just starting out with this photo of this guy here on my screen. And over here I have some rectangles that I've made. Two of them, the green one and the black one, are over here in this folder, in this group. And this red one here is just kind of all by itself, all on top of this guy's photo, this background layer. Okay, so first we're going to come up here. With all the tools, you're going to be able to have this area to kind of set your preferences. So whatever you change on this top row up here, you're going to be able to save as a preset. So whatever tool you'll choose from the left hand side over here is going to be a preset here if you choose to save it. Okay, so the Move tool. This is going to be by far the thing that you use the most in Adobe Photoshop because you are constantly having to move things around. It's just I call it a necessary evil because it's a tool that you're going to have to default to get where you want to go. So if you want to move something inside of a photo, which you will do every single time you open Photoshop, you're going to need this Move tool, which is probably why it's at the top. So let's take an example here. So this red square here that I kind of made before this lesson, it's located right here. I called it rectangle 3. If I select this over here, then I can move it. I have auto select on. I'll tell you what that's about in a second. If I select this here, I can move it, right? Because it's selected in my layers. But if I come over here and I try to click the green square, it's still moving the red square no matter where I move on the screen. That's because it's selected over here. This little button over here is really important and can either be your best friend or your worst nightmare. So if you select this, this is what it does. It recognizes what layer you're on and you can start moving. But did you see what happened here? I have this set so that these two layers are in a group, and it's moving both of them at the same time. That's because of this little thing right over here, this drop down menu called the group or layer option. I'm going to choose layer, and you'll see that it kind of differentiates between the group and the layer now. Now I don't have anything selected over here, even though it says that I have a group selected. It doesn't matter. I can come over here and say I want to move the green layer, I want to move the black layer, I want to move the red layer, and you'll see it highlight. So watch, green, black, red, green, black, red. That's because I have this auto select turned on in layer. If I turn auto select off, look, it's only gonna, doesn't matter where I click, it's only doing what I've selected over here. So this can be your worst friend or your best friend or your worst nightmare. Okay, another important thing. If you have this set to group, as you saw before, I have the green and black layer in a group, auto select group. Now it doesn't matter where I click on the screen, I can select the green and black layer. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so let's just for instance take this back to layer, auto select, and we're going to select the red layer. As you can see, it chose the red layer over here for rectangle 3. And this is pretty nifty because if you're not used to transforming objects that you have or parts of photos, you're probably going in through edit and transform and choosing one of these options to transform these things. But all you have to do is hit this transform controls. And now watch this. With my Move tool, I can hover over the corners and see how it gives me a bendy arrow. Look at this. I click and hold, and now I can rotate. And notice that the tooltip there tells me exactly the degree that I've changed the object. So it's changed at negative 51.3 degrees. And watch it. See, it's live. It's moving with me. So now it's 24.7 degrees past my original position. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and Command Z this on a Mac and just take it back to the original position. Notice what happens now when I hover over my actual little blocks here and I can click and drag. I can make it bigger diagonally. I can make it longer, shorter, skinnier, wider, whatever I want. Now this is important. As I hold over one of these things, and let's say I click and held right here on this this corner, and then I hold my shift button and drag, it's going to constrain my proportions. So it will keep the proportion of my object the exact same. This is pretty important. Let's say I wanted to grab this guy's eye. Well, you don't want to make the eye all squishy like this square, right? It would be all deformed. No, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to hold it, and then you're going to hit shift and hold it. So hold shift while you click and drag, and that would keep everything in proportion. Pretty cool, right? You'll see what happened up here when I'm hanging on to all these things as part of the move tool. You can start to change all this stuff manually, which is pretty cool. I don't use it that often unless it's some ridiculously huge image and I need something just right. Things with straight lines tend to give you a lot of problems. So you can type in the values of what you need. So let's say I wanted a 34.5 angle, right? You can see that it did that. Or let's say I wanted a 56. See how it's doing it? 90-degree angle. So if that's more your style, if you'd rather focus on something exact, this is where you do that after you've clicked on the transform thing. And of course you can pick all your different options over here for how sharp or how smooth you want your differentiation for. So let's go back, make sure that we don't want to apply our transformation. It will ask you that every single time, which is a pretty good deal, because oftentimes if you click and you move something, it's even just a little off, it'll give you lots of problems. I'm going to hit don't apply and see it takes it right back. Okay, so the last part of the move tool are all these grayed out options. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on this first set because these are the most used. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click all three of my layers. I'm sorry, all two of my grouped layers. So now I have my black and green layer, and you see it ungrayed these options, and these are what are called align options. Now watch what happens here. This is the align to top edges, and you see what it did? It aligned to the topmost edge, so it happened to be that green block that was the highest edge. See, watch, I can move this green one down, and here's the black one. I'm going to go ahead and select both of them, do the same thing, align to top edges. So what it'll do is it'll align to the furthest edge possible for all these. Then you have aligned vertical layers. You see how it stuck both of them at their center line. And then you can go ahead and do this one, which is align bottom layers, or bottom edges, and then you can do align left edges, you can do centered, you can do align right. Let's say we wanted to then take the red one and align that right as well. See, it'll take them all and stick them over there. So it's pretty cool stuff. This is a great way to make sure that everything is perfectly lined up. You could swear in court that this is 100% lined up on a certain edge or centered. Often you will see graphic designers mix photos and text, and I guarantee you that they're all using this where they're aligning everything to make sure that it's the most visually appealing to the customer or consumer. And that's pretty much it for the Move tool.